Hey everybody, my name is Casey Dagenais, and the question I asked myself was, how do I learn? And going over this process was very interesting per se, as I reviewed on my learning process of how to learn and how I take notes. In D&C 88, 122, it says, "Among appointing yourself a teacher, and let not all be spokesmen at once, but let one speak at a time, and let all listen unto his sayings, that when all have spoken, that all may be edified of all, and that every man may have an equal privilege." I really like that section because it kind of says that as you listen to somebody teach, you learn knowledge, no matter who the teacher is, and not to all speak at once and shout out your opinions. The first question I asked myself was, how do I teach others so that I learn something also? And a study by a man, a researcher in psychology at Washington University in St. Louis, found that when compared to learners expecting a test, learners expecting to teach recalled more material correctly. They organized their recall more effectively, and they had better memory for especially important information. So what's that kind of saying is that students who are planning to teach other students or other people retain more information than they do from a test. Was it actually interesting and you didn't think would happen? I know I've never looked at it that way, and so now that I know this information, I started looking at it a different way. And I believe it's true because it's happened to me. I have found that I retain more information when I'm planning to teach somebody than when studying for a test, because for a test it's kind of like, oh, I just need a note for today, and then once at the end of the semester, and that's it. Also, in the graffiti board, somebody commented on one of my questions, and they said that to ask questions while teaching, and I thought that was really interesting, and I never ever thought to do that, and I think it's really interesting, and I'm going to try to do that more, because when you're teaching and you ask questions, you might think of one answer, but somebody else might think of another answer, and it's totally the same, or means the same, but in a different perspective. Another question I ask myself is my method of note-taking the greatest method for me to learn at maximum capacity? Studies have found that note-taking is most effective when notes are organized and transformed in some way, or when a teacher gives examples of good notes. So, how are you supposed to know to take good notes if nobody ever shows you what good notes are? And I remember when I was in middle school, my parents showed me how to take good notes, and stuck with me ever since. And I feel when we're younger, we need to learn that more, so we are more prepared for the rest of our lives in our education. The Cornell note-taking method is also a very effective method and great way to stay organized when taking notes. The next slide over, I will go into a little more detail about what that is. Methods that I specifically use are, I use different colors while taking notes, so different colored pens, highlighters, paper, flashcards that are different colors. Studies show that writing in different colors or on colored paper helps people retain more information, and I've found that to be true for myself, because it helps memorize stuff according to color. It helps you put one thing to another. Also, organization is a big thing for me. I organize my notes based on first class, what type of class it is, and then the date that it was written, so my notes match up with certain test dates, and then I make flashcards based on my notes, and that helps me while studying. In this slide is the Cornell note-taking system method, and so on the left, it's like the main ideas and key, like things you have questions about, or key things you need to go look up a little bit more. On the right side, in the middle-ish on the right, is like keywords and ideas and important information, stuff that you, like for instance for history, you'd put like dates and people and stuff that you would know would be on a test. And then at the bottom is like a summary of your notes. So basically a summary of a lecture that you just received, or, you know, a student was teaching, a summary of what they taught. I've used this method in Pathway and I really liked it. Also, and then in this slide is like a rate of forgetting with study/repetition. And so as you see, as you go more to the right and more repetitions, you start remembering more and more information. And as I've thought about it and looked on, that's what helps me when studying for tests, is I repeat going over flashcards, going over flashcards, going over flashcards, and through repetition I learn and understand more. And then in this slide is my last question of what study methods help me on exams. And it says that we tend to lose almost 40% of new information within the first 24 hours of first reading or hearing the new information. That's so interesting, because you're like, I just learned it. So you end up losing 40% of the new information, and 40% could be the most important part. My study methods that I use again are organization of notes and flashcards, and then color coding again. Color coding helps me a lot with learning, and it's something I plan to teach also. And then study methods I plan on using with my future classroom, so when I become a teacher and have students, like game show review like Jeopardy or Family Feud to get everybody interacted, or there's a game called Four Corners that I found online, and it's like a multiple choice type review, and so each corner is a letter, so A, B, C, and D, and then they have to figure out which one it is, and then I will tell them the answer. And then in this last slide, it's a picture, it's actually a little quote, and I really ended up liking it. I found it on the internet. It says, "A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others." So let me read that again. A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others. And the author is unknown, and I really liked that. And then also on this last side it says, "I can do all things through Christ, which strengthened me." And I really like that, because through hard times and through teaching and planning lesson plans, I know that I can get through it and I can help people learn through Christ, and He strengthens me through that. And thank you for joining me on this ride.